once. Sorry. I'm still on a recovering stage. That's why in between coughs and all. So please do excuse. So let's start with the Tempest. So yesterday we just gave an introduction to the Tempest, but we couldn't complete it. Actually, this is a stunning theatrical entertainment. I hope you remember that along with two other plays, Tempest is one of the plays by Shakespeare, which is written for a private purpose or a private occasion. Okay, and a Tempest is written for a private wedding ceremony. So, of course, this is a very stunning theatrical entertainment of great beauty and emotional power, we can say, and it offers a mask-like spectacle. Yesterday, we just discussed what is a mask, and actually it's Ben Jonson who popularized or who expanded this genre, that is mask. Most probably it will be like a romantic kind of a play, but there will be some ball parties and all those things, and the characters will be wearing masks, and this masks have a significant role in the turn of the content or the story. Okay, that's what we call a mask. So this offers a mask like spectacle, and the vision of virtues and vices is as complex as a human nature itself. That is what the idea or the major theme of this particular play. And of course, very little actual plot. Yesterday, we just discussed what are the features of romances, and we discussed that romances include so much of fantasy. Okay, so much of fantasy. So having this much of fantastic elements, actually, the very little of actual plot, and that is very evident in the case of Tempest. And then the lack of suspense is complicated with bold theatrical effects. Then a role of providence in human affairs is also there in Tempest. What is providence? Yesterday we discussed that it is the protective power of God or nature. Nature is interfering or God is interfering, and the protective power of nature or God is interfering into the lives of the men and make some changes, most probably positive changes. Okay, and this is what called the providence. So, role of providence in human affairs. All these are very evident in the case of the romances, especially in the case of the Tempest. Okay, and you can see, of course, the role of magic. You must be familiar with the content of Tempest and reality versus illusion, because this is a play which is filled with magic. Lots and lots of magical elements are there. So whether it is real or an illusion, a hallucination experienced by the characters or the audience, it will be like a total confusion. The structure of the play is like that. Okay, the shipwrecked sailors are unable to distinguish between their hallucinations and reality. They are now in the island, new island. Ship got wrecked, and now they cannot actually realize, because there are so many supernatural elements are there, so many original human beings are there. So it's a mixing up of all these things together. So what is exactly the reality, or is this a hallucination that we are experiencing? So this kind of a confusion is there. And the island, of course, represents a temporary illusion, while Milan, the original country from where the Duke came, Prospero came, all the other people came, and then Milan represents a reality. Okay, so to which the characters must return. Though Prospero and his daughter Miranda, all these people are living in the island for long years, definitely they have to go back. And all the other people who ended up here in the island after the shipwreck, they too have to go back. So The illusion is for a while. The fantasy cannot last for a long period. It's for a while. It's for a very short period. So the island here represents the illusion. If we philosophically discuss, we can say the island here symbolically represents the illusion part of us. We can daydream and we can place ourselves in America or Britain or as the IAS first rank holder or whatever it is. But after that, we have to come back to the reality. That is another fact. That is the fact. And this fantasy lasts only for a while. So this is what actually the kind of the theme that is discussed by Keats in Ode to a Nightingale. By listening to the song of the nightingale, he leaves the original or the material world for a while and be there in the world of the nightingale for a while and enjoys all kinds of happiness and freedom and everything away from the fever and fret of the world. But after a while he has to come back because this is the reality. So likewise here also you can see the illusion and reality. When Prospero leaves the island, he is also leaving behind the world of illusion. That is what actually happening. Then the two supernatural characters in the Tempest are Caliban and Ariel. Okay, Caliban and Ariel are there. Are other supernatural elements also. I mean, characters also, like Caliban's mother, Sycorax. There is no such visible presence of Sycorax in the Tempest, but there are some references to Sycorax. But still, Caliban and Ariel are the two important or two major, two consistent supernatural characters in the Tempest. Actually, the contrast between these two supernatural characters is developed throughout the play. Contrasting, they are like binary. One is positive, one is negative. One is day, one is night. One is black, one is white. Just like that, they represent two binaries. Okay. Ariel is airy, beautiful, pleasant, and allied with good. Okay, the good angel type of a thing is Ariel. But at the same time, Caliban is dank, ugly, sullen, inclined to evil. A kind of Deva and Asura concept that we are having in Indian mythology. Okay, that is what actually the representations by Caliban and Ariel. And Ariel is a spiritual being, and Caliban is utterly material. That means what material means is like Caliban is confined to earth. Okay, an earthy thing, and it's greedy for material possessions. I want this, I want that. That kind of greediness is there with Caliban. So all such stuff are there with Caliban. So when Prospero arrives on on the island, it is a state of disorder, complete disorder. Why? Because Ariel is in bondage. Ariel was into bondage, and Caliban was free during that time. But towards the end of the play, you can see that the order is reversed or restored when Caliban is into bondage and Ariel is said to be free. That's how kind of civilization happened there, and the good thing was suffering, and the bad thing was ruling when Prospero was entering. And after Prospero's magical interventions, the good thing was relieved, and the bad thing was confined or restricted. Okay, Ariel is considered to be a prosperous analog. Analog means something, a thing or a person which can be comparable with another. So Ariel is considered to be prosperous analog because Prospero is someone who deceived by his brother, who lost everything and who had to struggle more. So Ariel is also can be, compared to this kind of a character. Then Ariel's good intentional magic is against the black magic of Caliban's mother Sycorax. So Caliban is actually following the black magic of his mother Sycorax, but Ariel's magic, of course, both are having magic, but Caliban's is black magic and Ariel's is good magic, good intentional magic. Okay. So this is how Ariel and Caliban are represented in this particular play. And later on, actually, this is how Tempest was received and enjoyed for a long time. But after a while, there started after 1950s. Okay, it's not so early, but after 1950s, that is at the second half of the 20th century, when this post-colonial literature was emerging. At that time, we can say a post-colonial study of the Tempest. And what is now so popular is the post-colonial study of the Tempest. Actually, this kind of an idea begins during the 1950s with the publication of the book Prospero and Caliban. That is the title of the book. Okay, Prospero and Caliban, the Psychology of Colonization by the French psychoanalyst Octave Menoni. Okay, Octave Menoni. This is an important book, and you should remember the author also. He's a French psychoanalyst, Octave Menoni, and it is he who gave a post-colonial analysis or a post-colonial understanding of the work The Tempest. Because when Shakespeare was writing this, we have seen the background of Elizabethan period during that time, and we just discussed, hope you remember, that during that time, England was actually colonizing so many other lands in and around the country, and they were expanding the country like anything. They were conquering the neighboring as well as other parts of the world, other geographical regions of the world, and they were trying to make everything under the control of England. Okay, England was emerging in all sense. As a colonizer, also England was emerging. So usually people say actually Caliban, the title Caliban or the name Caliban itself is an anagram of cannibal. So here Prospero is the colonizer who goes to the island, and Caliban is the native. Okay, he's the native of that place, and this person is conquering Caliban and civilizing, trying to civilize Caliban, and he's giving an example to Caliban that okay, Ariel is there, this is how you should be, very good, very beautiful, very airy, very sophisticated, and things like that. Caliban is assigned with all these bad qualities. This is what actually happened during the colonizations. When they came to other places, they considered others to be uncivilized, crude, and what to say, beast like people, and they have to be civilized. And it is the responsibility, they considered it is the responsibility of white man, or white man's burden, to civilize the uncivilized ones. So this is exactly, this post-colonial reading perfectly fits to this particular play, that is The Tempest. Okay. And after that, so many other people like Amy Zizare, Kamau Brathwaite, all these are some people who gave this kind of post-colonial criticism or post-colonial analysis to the play Tempest. Okay. Prospero as a colonizer and Caliban as the colonized subject. Caliban is an Orientalist image. Caliban was given with an Orientalist. You know what is Oriental and Occidental. Just like colonizer and colonized, Occidental or Occidentalism means those who are colonizing. Okay, the white or the superior power is identified as Occidentals, and the natives are Oriental. That is the famous book by Edward Said, that is Orientalism, which is a kind of a Bible type of a book in the context of post-colonial literature and post-colonial theory. Okay, so this is what something very important about the Tempest, the post-colonial aspect or the post-colonial perspective on the Tempest is very important. Nowadays, when Tempest comes to your mind, naturally, synonymously, we remember, oh, the post-colonial thing, Prospero, the colonizer, and Caliban, the colonized. Okay, no one from that time, no one identified or no one viewed the story from the perspective of Caliban. Everyone viewed it from the perspective of only Prospero, who was there and who escaped Ariel from the cruel treatment of Caliban and made the island very beautiful one, very fruitful one, very prosperous one. Okay, all those things. But from what is from the perspective of Caliban, that is a different story. And that is what actually brought out by all these people. So there ends the romances of Shakespeare as well as the dramas of Shakespeare. We have almost discussed most of his major works, especially the tragedies in detail. And so just go like have a glance on the previous lectures if you have any doubts on Shakespeare. Actually, Shakespeare was a very extended lecture, I guess, but still, of course, that is necessary. Still, the significance of Shakespeare is there. And these are some important scenes in the tragedies because this is exclusively for the sake of your examination point of view, competitive examinations, because sometimes you may get questions like this. Okay, the sleepwalking scene is there in which of Shakespeare's work? That is very easy one. But when it comes to like the willow scene or the trial scene or something like that, it may be slightly confusing. And these are some scenes from the great tragedies, four great tragedies. Some important scenes were given with certain titles. Okay, first of all, nunnery scene. Nunnery scene is there in Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1. This is where Hamlet and Ophelia is meeting with each other, and Ophelia is actually sent by Polonius, her father. And at that time, Hamlet is very angry, and unnecessarily he is pouring down his anger on Ophelia. So at that time, he is making some references like go to nunnery. This is what he says. Actually, nunnery, we know what nunnery means. It is the Christian spiritual thing that the women can enter. But at the same time, there is a double meaning. There is another layer for this nunnery scene that go to brothel. Go to nunnery means go to brothel also. That is actually a very derogatory second meaning that is associated with nunnery during that time, Elizabethan period. Okay, so we don't know exactly what Hamlet intended, whether he intended the original nunnery or this one. We usually still people usually have this kind of double meaning context. If they are angry, they'll say something on the first layer it has one meaning, but at the second or tertiary level it has another meaning. So this is something like that. That is what called nunnery scene. And then flower scene is Hamlet, Act 4, Scene 5. This is towards the end of Ophelia's life. She is mad by then. Because she's getting this kind of rude behavior from Hamlet, as well as she lost her father Polonius, who is stabbed to death by Hamlet himself. So she lost her sanity and she is insane. And during that time, she is explaining so many flowers. This flower is like this flower is like that. Without any context, she is simply blabbering some flowers' names and she is explaining the details of all those flowers. That is what actually called flower scene. And based on this flower scene during the 18th or 19th century, I guess, now you can see if you Google Ophelia's drowning, like Ophelia's death, then you can see Ophelia is floating on a lake-like place or a pond-like place. It's filled with flowers, full of flowers. And if you go in detail, you can see like those are the flowers described by uh, Ophelia in this particular scene. Actually, it is drawn by someone else. I don't remember his name exactly. It should not be forgotten. It's a very important name, but at the same time now I don't remember. But the painter painted it in that way, considering all the flowers that those are described by Ophelia. Okay, that is the flower scene. Then grave digger scene, of course, you may be familiar with. That is Ophelia's funeral scene. Okay, Ophelia is now dead, and they are like the grave diggers are digging the grave for her. So Hamlet is also now there, and these people are speaking on so many philosophical ideas, philosophical reflections. So that is what the importance of the grave digger scene. And then coming to Macbeth, Potter scene in Act 2, Scene 3. Potter scene comes soon after Duncan's death and its revelation. Okay, no one knows Duncan is murdered. Only Macbeth and his wife, they know. But this Potter, actually, he's very drunk and he's coming to the continuous knock on the castle, Macbeth's castle. Continuous knock is there, and this Potter is coming and opening. That is what called the Potter scene, which is very crucial, very important in Macbeth. Then sleepwalking scene, of course, you know, that is the sleepwalking of Lady Macbeth in Act 5, Scene 1. If you remember, it is not that easy, but if possible, just try to remember the scenes and the acts, okay, if possible. I won't insist because it is not that easy. And sleepwalking scene as an Macbeth. Then again, temptation scene in Othello. Act 3, Scene 4. Temptation scene is like Iago is tempting Othello, or Iago is injecting the sexual jealousy or the suspicion towards Desdemona on Othello. That is what the temptation scene. Then handkerchief scene, just like the title mentions, Desdemona is losing the handkerchief, and now Othello is confirming that as there is no kerchief with her, he is confirming that, okay, she is cheating on me, she is disloyal to me. Okay, that is what the handkerchief scene. And again, willow scene is there. Willow scene. Oh, sorry, willow scene is not there in King Lear. It's in Othello only. Okay, that's a mistake. Please do consider that. Willow scene is in Othello again. Uh, willow scene in Othello, Act 4, Scene 3. Okay, Act 4, Scene 3. Willow scene in Othello. Willow scene means this lady, Desdemona, is very much afraid. She is in her night chamber. She's about to sleep. She's in her bedroom. But still she's very confused that why this person, Othello, is unnecessarily angry on her. Why he is suspecting her. So she is so heartbroken, and she is singing an old ballad. That is what this willow song. Okay, it's a song. It's an old ballad, an orally transmitted ballad. The content of the ballad is one lady is lamenting on the lost love, her lost love. That is what the content. And this Desdemona is singing that song. That is what the willow scene is. That is in Othello, Act 4, Scene 3. Actually, this Act 3 of Scene 2, King Lear is what? A storm scene. Okay, that is not the willow scene, that is the storm scene. Storm scene in King Lear, Act 3, Scene 2. This storm scene is like he got banished by both his daughters, Regan and Goneril, whom he trusted. And he thought like he'll be happy with the two daughters, but finally what happened, they both vanished him. So now this person is there is nothing for him. Okay, only some ragged clothes, and he is now open to the nature, and it is full of thunder, full of storm, heavy storm, and all those things, and he is now open to all those things. And then only he was realizing that, okay, my poor people were suffering like this and all those things. And actually the storm that we can see outside is a representation of what is happening inside King Lear. Okay, his mental turbulence is actually reflected in the nature in the form of this storm. So that is what the storm scene in King Lear, Act 3, Scene 2. And then finally, trial scene is also from King Lear, that is Act 3, Scene 6. After this storm scene and all, these people, Kent, then Tom the beggar, that is disguised Edgar, uh, all these people are bringing King Lear to a very small hut. Okay, very small hut, and by then King Lear loses his sanity completely. He is insane, and he wants to. He knows everything, but he is insane. He is not having a proper consciousness. So he wants to trial his daughters and all those people who stood against him. So he considers, just simply he is assuming that, okay, this is a court trial place, and there stands Regan, there stands Goneril. Likewise, he is trialing everyone, a mock trial kind of a thing. So that is the trial scene in King Lear. Okay, so these are some important scenes from the great tragedies. It will be, this is for the sake of your examination point of view that I included all these slides. This is also something, the plays of Shakespeare with prologues, as well as the plays of Shakespeare with epilogues. Okay. So here I have mentioned which are the plays and who is the person or the character, or whether it is a chorus, who gives the prologue and who gives the epilogue. Okay, so if you want to make a reference, you can come back and you can read from here. Henry VIII, Troilus and Cressida, then Romeo and Juliet, Henry V, Pericles, and here all you can see it is the chorus who gives the prologue or the introduction. Then in Macbeth, it is the witches. In Richard III, it is Richard, the Duke of Gloucester. Then in Henry IV, Part 2, rumor. There is a rumor, and this rumor acts as a prologue. Then the place with epilogues. Pericles, Gower. Who is Gower? John Gower. Yesterday we discussed. In case of Pericles, John Gower, it is the ghost of John Gower who gives the introduction as well as the epilogue. And then Henry VIII chorus. Henry IV Part 2, the dancer in the chorus. Then Henry V again chorus. Tempest, Prospero, Midsummer Night's Dream, Puck, the character. And As You Like It, it's Rosalind, the heroine. All's Well That Ends Well, it's the king who gives the epilogue. Twelfth Night, it is Fest. Fest is a character, it is a fool-like character, okay, a jester. And this fool gives the epilogue, it's in the form of a song. And Troilus and Cressida, Pandarus. Okay, so these are the people who gives the prologues and epilogues to the different plays of Shakespeare. So you can come to this part, the recorded link will be shared, and you can again make a reference here. So there ends the plays of Shakespeare. Now, what we have to discuss is the sonnets of Shakespeare. Okay, that is also an important part. We have just given some introductions to the sonnets, why he wrote sonnets. Hope you remember during that time, because of plague, the theaters were closed, and he turned into writing sonnets. And there are 154 sonnets in total, mostly written during 1592 to 98. 1592 to 94 is the period where England was down with plague, and after that also he continued writing sonnets. So in total, there are 154 sonnets to the credit of Shakespeare. And first it is published by again Thomas Thorpe in the quarto form. Okay, quarto form from quarto form in 1609. Okay, this got first published in 1609 in quarto form, and it is published by Thomas Thorpe. and it addresses whom. You may be familiar with this, but still we can have a glance on this. First 126 sonnets, okay, out of 154, first 126 sonnets are addressed to Mr. W.H. Mr. W.H. It's not simply W.H., but it is Mr. W.H. And still we are thinking or hunting for this particular person. We don't know exactly who this Mr. W.H. is. There are three names mostly come up. They are Henry Wriothesley, that is the first one. He is the Earl of Southampton. Okay, or it can be William Herbert, Earl of Pembroke. Then one more person is there. I don't exactly remember. Or these are the two people. Let me just check and tell that. Okay. Actually, these people, see, one more person is there. See, Henry Wriothesley, Earl of Southampton, or William Herbert, Earl of Pembroke. And one more person, usually we used to say that person also. Okay. So these are our assumptions. We don't know exactly whether this WH is Dosley or Herbert, we don't know. And then actually in these sonnets, he's depicting a kind of spiritual love towards this person. And he wants this person to be married. He wants, that is the author, okay? Or Shakespeare wants this person to be married, this person to have kids. This person is like a kind of spiritual love, and in later period, actually, this is analyzed in the context of a homosexual love also. That is something different. But when we discuss all these sonnets, this kind of a spiritual love was reflecting in all the 126 sonnets. And then next 26 sonnets are addressed to a dark lady. That is also anonymous, who the person is. We don't know. Mr. WH as well as the dark lady, both are anonymous. And this is like we used to say, it is either Mary Fitton or Emilia Lanier or Lucy Morgan. These are the three names. Those are possible because there are some physical features addressed in or explained in these particular sonnets. And with the help of those clues, people think or people assume that, okay, this can be the different people. Okay, this can be the different ladies, possibly the dark lady. And in these sonnets, you can see depict overtly erotic and physical love kind of things. Okay, and last two sonnets are addressed to Cupid. Cupid is the god of love, and the last two sonnets are addressed to Cupid, or it is about Cupid. This is how the sonnets are arranged. Okay, this is how the sonnets address different people. And here also, like a connection is also there in the first part of the sonnets. We can see the author is very much into the or he is loving this person like anything. But after some time, he feels like this person is cheating or deceiving, or he is having some other relationships or something like that. And then about this lady, this erotic kind of sonnets and all, and then the last sonnets to the Cupid. And what are the important themes? Love, broken trust of a friend, loss of love, forgiveness. Then another character or a rival poet that is also there, and that can be probably George Chapman. We don't know exactly who's. No significant specific names are given in the sonnet. And the sonnet sequences in the 16th century were not confessional narratives. It was like mostly anti-conventional, we can say. There are so many differences in the case of these sonnets. Okay, so love means it's a source of great joy as well as great worry for the speaker. Love towards this person. When he got deceived, he was feeling sad, and when he was expressing his love, he was very happy, something like that. Then the broken trust of a friend, that means the young man to whom he is addressing, and the dark lady. At some point, we may feel like these two people are in love and they deceived the other, or something like that. So that is the broken trust. Then loss of love, the young man's rejection of the poet. And that's why this homosexual possibilities are there. He's very sad that the young man rejects the poet, and he is after the dark ladies, multiple sexual partners. There are so many sexual partners for this dark lady, and this person is also WH is also behind that lady, something like that. So those are the themes of sonnets, and we'll continue in the next session. Please do join using the same link. I think this will end in a. Okay. Anyway, now let's discuss the long poems. Okay, and the long poems of William Shakespeare again, and yeah. Before that, before coming to the long poems, yes, regarding this sonnets, one more thing is there. Actually, these sonnets were anti-Petrarchan. Okay, anti-Petrarchan elements are there. Usually, the sonnets means Petrarchan sonnets. Okay, that is what the origin of sonnets. And here, the sonnets depart from Petrarchan conventions in the following ways. Which are the following ways? Like they subvert the conventional gender roles. Usually, in Petrarchan sonnets, that is very romantic in nature. In that, the ladies were flattered like anything. Okay, usually in our film songs also we can say you are like a devadai, and you are the angel and all those things. So this kind of expressions are there followed in the Petrarchan conventional type of sonnets. Even in English sonnets, this is what actually followed. But in the Shakespearean sonnets, you can see an anti-Petrarchan approach towards this kind of flatterings and expressions. And they didn't, or he didn't idealized the couple or their love or the woman. But a complex and troubled view of love was visible in the case of these sonnets. Okay, sometimes they make fun of love, beauty, and Petrarchan conventions. And the style is, of course, three quatrains and a couplet, just like the English sonnet. Quatrain, hope you remember, 4 lines. Okay, one quatrain, two quatrain, three quatrain. That means 12 lines. Okay, 4 plus 4 plus 4, 12 lines and a couplet. That means 2 lines. So in total, 14 lines. That was the structure of the Shakespearean sonnet. And the rhyme scheme is same as English sonnet. That is A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. Okay, so that is the rhyme scheme of this Shakespearean sonnet. But there are two exceptions. One is sonnet number 99 and the second is sonnet number 126. Sonnet number 99 has 15 lines, not 14, but 15 lines. This is something you should keep in your mind because there can be questions like which among the Shakespearean sonnets is having 15 lines or 12 lines. Actually, there are two sonnets. One is having 15 lines, that is sonnet number 99, and the other one is sonnet number 126. Okay, sonnet number 126 is having 12 lines. 12, 1, 2, okay, 12 lines. So these are the two differences in the case of sonnets and its structure. And then now let's discuss the long forms of Shakespeare. First of all, yes?
Ma'am, like actually, I heard that a sonnet, in first 8 lines of sonnet, it would be of some like, questions or problems or situation, and the next 6 lines would tell the solution or the climax.
Huh, huh.
So
Yeah,
So, like,
8 plus 6 are there. These are some exceptions actually.
okay.
Okay, these are
So
two
this 4 plus
exceptions.
4,
Yes.
this 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 2, then how would this satisfy that 8 plus 6, ma'am?
Actually, yeah, what you are asking is the Petrarchan conventions. That is Petrarchan sonnet is like 8 lines, one octave and a sestet. That is what we usually say. The octave is like 8 lines. Okay, first 8 lines. And as you said, there is a problem, and then the solution comes in the sestet. That is 6 lines. So 8 plus 6, 14. But when it comes to English sonnets, that is introduced by Surrey and White, okay, there are some differences. And this is how we follow in English, not we, but this is what followed in the English sonnet style. That is 3 quatrains and a couplet. So the rhymes keep only changing. The thing is not actually changing. And later sonnet sequences came because in one sonnet, as you said, it is not possible always to give the solution and problem and confine all the ideas in a single sonnet. So there comes sonnet sequences. That means all the sonnets are more in number. They will be all like in 14 lines, but they'll be continuing 1 2 3 4, like more than 100 sonnets will be together. That is what called a sonnet sequence, which in total tell a complete story. Okay, that is what called sonnet sequence. And what you said is correct. That is the Petrarchan conventional sonnet style. That is an octave and a sestet, 8 plus 6 line structure, which gives a problem and a solution kind of thing. That is the Petrarchan Italian style. And inspired from that, this White and Surrey introduced sonnets in English, and there were some changes, and they gave this kind of ABAB, CD, EF, GG, that style. ABAB, 4 lines. Okay, CD, 4 lines. EF, other 4 lines. Then GG, the couplet. Mostly this couplet gives this kind of a conclusion to what we're discussing in the all 3 quatrains. That is the English sonnet style. And Shakespeare style is also similar to English style. That is the difference. Okay. Is that clear now, Aishwarya?
Ma'am,
Yes.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
If you,
ma'am.
if you have confusions, you can ask. Okay, free to ask. No problem.
Yes.
Yeah. So, coming to the long poems, it is first of all, it is Venus and Adonis. That is in 1593. It is written in 1593. This is a non-dramatic erotic poem dedicated to the Earl of Southampton. Earlier, who is Mr. W.H.? And in that case, we were discussing this Earl of Southampton. Actually, Shakespeare has dedicated so many works and so many poems or so many of his works to this particular person. That is why people are assuming that these can be the people Shakespeare may be addressing. Okay, and this is a poem. Venus and Adonis is a poem which is dedicated to Earl of Southampton, and the form is epillion. It is written in the form of an epillion. What is an epillion? Epillion is a sorry, it's a 19th century word. Okay, till the 19th century, this word was not on current. Epillion is a term coined in the 19th century, which describes the classical poems on the subject of love. Okay, classical type poems on the subject of love with mythological allusions and digressions. So this will be a classical type of a poem, and the theme will be love, and there will be so many mythological allusions, mythological references and digressions. Okay, that kind of a structure is commonly known as epillion, and this particular term is coined only in the 19th century. So this Venus and Adonis can be categorized under, or the form can be identified as an epillion. Okay, and this content is like goddess Venus, you know that it's a Greek goddess Venus. she's having an infatuation towards the young hunter Adonis, and she is actually informing him that I am in love with you, but Adonis resists her advances, and he prefers to go for hunting. He's not he was a very handsome man. So many women including goddesses got attracted to him, but he said like no, I'm into hunting and I'll be going this way that way, something like that. And there are so many mythological stories connecting to Adonis, okay, so many, and there are so many digressions also in Shakespeare's Venus and Adonis. This is what the story is. And the next morning, Venus discovers his body killed by a wild boar, and Venus laments for the death of this particular person. That is what the content of this particular poem, that is Venus and Adonis. Then comes the Rape of Lucrece. That is another long poem by Shakespeare, which is written in 1594. And this is a complex work based on the themes from Ovid's Metamorphoses. Hope you remember Ovid and his Metamorphoses, which was actually a source for so many medieval poets. Metamorphoses was full of stories which inspired later writers and poets. And this metamorphosis is the source for this particular poem also, the Rape of Lucrece. Actually, it presents the contrasting views on the nature of love. This poem presents since the contrasting views on the nature of love. Actually, this is an ancient Latin story of Rape of Lucretia. It was originally there. Rape of Lucretia was the title earlier, and this particular story was written by Tarquin. Tarquin was the son of a Roman king. And from that source, or based on this particular Latin story, Shakespeare wrote the Rape of Lucrece. And Lucrece's distress is described at length and culminating in her suicide. Her husband and others take revenge upon Tarquin and drive him and her and his father from Rome, and all such stories. Okay, are there. And this ancient Latin story, we don't know exactly who the author of this particular story. Actually, there was a mistake when I told this. It is not written by Tarquin, but this rape means it is not the original rape, but theft also. Some kind of this girl or Lucretia got abducted by Tarquin. Tarquin is the son of a Roman king, and her husband is there to take revenge on Tarquin. And finally, they, as a group, they are driving him as well as his father away from Rome. So this is a Latin, ancient Latin story which was orally transmitted. We don't know exactly the source of the story. It's an orally transmitted story, and Shakespeare got inspired from this particular story. And there comes Rape of Lucrece. So there ends Shakespeare, and we have started long back, and I think we have almost discussed the yeah.
Ma'am, in Venus in Adonis, that boy was seduced by the goddess or what?
Who is seduced by?
Ma'am, the like in Rape of sorry, ma'am, in Venus in Adonis. So it is about a tale of an innocent boy who seduced by the goddess.
That is what I said when I was explaining that this Adonis story is having so many digressions. Okay, like so many people got inspiration from Adonis story, and they all written the story with different variations. That is something there. And here also Adonis is kind of a shepherd type boy. That is also there, and he's a hunter. He's a person who is interested in music, and so many variations are there. Here, Venus was trying to seduce him. That is what I said. He was rejecting the advances of Venus. Okay, he was not ready to be the lover of Venus and to be with Venus, and he said, no, I want to be independent. I'll be going for hunting or something like that. And still, we don't know what is the mystery behind the death of Adonis. Is it just because of the sexual jealousy? Because it was not only Venus, there are so many other goddesses as well as women who were interested in Adonis. As you said, he was a very innocent type of a shepherd type of boy, and these people including Venus were trying to seduce them, but still he couldn't. Finally he dies. That is there in all the stories. And there is another story which is written by in Milton, I guess. In Paradise Lost, there is a reference that Adonis is dead, and there is a river which once in a year this river will run in a very purple color, okay, purple or wine color, and the women on the shore or on the banks of this river will think like this is the blood of Adonis, who lost his life because of this love. Okay, love advances, and this is the blood of this Adonis, and all these women will lament on the death of Adonis every year, and that is kind of as part of a festival. It is happening, and for one day they all will be lamenting for Adonis' death because he is such a handsome man. Everyone will aspire for such a husband or such a lover, but they couldn't get him. So it is like that. So they are lamenting on the death of Adonis. That is another version. So many versions are there. So that is the problem of this mythological stories, because there can be a single stretch of story, but these people, the authors, will make it in a or twist it in different versions. That is what something. And here in Venus and Adonis, it is what to say, Adonis is resisting the advances, that is the romantic advances of Venus, and he leaves her. He goes for hunting. He said he's not ready to be with Venus for all the time, and the next morning she discovers his body, which is killed by a wild boar. Okay, and then Venus is lamenting for the death of his for his death. That is what the content of this particular poem, that is Venus and Adonis. Okay. Um, now, yeah. Now, so there ends Shakespeare. Now we are with Shakespeare's contemporaries. Okay, Shakespeare's contemporaries. There are so many people. Actually, we just first discussed it. It does not go in the order. Actually, why I chose to teach you Shakespeare first is like it's a very expanded area to know Shakespeare and his different works, his different genres of drama and all those things, and that's how I moved. We moved in that way. Actually, these are some people who die even before Shakespeare, and but they lived during the time of Shakespeare. First of all, Philip Sidney, okay, a very popular name, a very known name, a very common name to English literature, and a very important name also. And you can see his lifespan extends from 1554 to 86, a very short span, like 32 years or something like that. So that is what Sir Philip Sidney's lifespan is. And he is considered the embodiment of Castiglione's courtier. Hope you remember, if you have listened to the previous lectures, I have mentioned who is Baldassar Castiglione. He was an Italian diplomat as well as an Italian author. Okay, and his famous work, The Courtier. The Courtier is the translated version of his work, and which describes how a soldier or how a knight, Knight, how a knight should be. Okay, what are the chivalry? Hope you remember chivalric natures that are expected from a courtier, and this Sydney is a perfect example or an embodiment of this Castiglione's courtier. That means how a knight should be. What are the official as well as personal characteristic features of a knight which are necessary for a knight? Everything was perfect with Philip Sidney. Okay, he was such a perfect knight. And he born in Kent into an aristocratic family. Okay, King Philip II was his godfather. And this person was having a lifelong friend and a future biographer, that is Fulk Greville. This name is very important, and the question will be like, who is the biographer who was with Philip Sidney? That is Fulk Greville. Okay, he was a lifelong friend, as well as after Sidney died, he was the person who wrote the biography of Philip Sidney. That is Greville. Then he left Oxford without taking a degree. Actually, he was into Oxford University, but he didn't complete. He didn't complete, and he left Oxford without taking a degree. And then, sorry. Uh, and he traveled abroad. Okay, to so many places he traveled, like France, Italy, Germany, and other European regions, and he learned so many languages. Okay, and Greville says, like, Greville was a person most of the time he accompanied Sydney, and Greville says wheresoever he went he was beloved and obeyed. That was the nature or the characteristic trait of a Philip Sidney, which is very important. Wherever he go, to whichever land he goes, he will be beloved and he will be obeyed by people there. So he was such a respectable personality and a very loving personality. And then many books during that time, and even after that, many books were dedicated to him in these countries as well as in England. I told you that he traveled to Italy, France, Germany, and other European regions, and in these places as well as in England, so many authors wrote so many books, and they dedicated these particular works to Philip Sidney, and that signifies his importance. And one important book from England is like Spencer's Shepherd's Calendar. Okay, Edmund Spencer wrote Shepherd's Calendar, and this particular work by Spencer is dedicated to Philip Sidney. And then he was having a very fluctuating kind of a relationship with the Queen, that is Queen Elizabeth. Okay, Sydney was an ardent Protestant, and Queen Elizabeth was. We have discussed what her religious policy was, because she was the one who had to balance between the Catholics and the Protestants, and that is what one of the reasons why she didn't marry anyone. So she had to take so much of effort to balance the religious crisis that was happening during this time. And actually, why he is having a very fluctuating kind of a relationship with Queen is because he wrote to the Queen in 1579 advising her against marriage with Duke of Anjou. We know that this person, that is Queen Elizabeth, remained unmarried till her death. But in between there were some this kind of rumors or gossips, or we don't know whether it is exactly rumors or any genuinity behind such news, that she had the plan of marrying Duke of Anjou, and this person resisted. Sydney actually wrote a letter to Queen Elizabeth not to marry this person or things like that. So he had to leave the court on this account and lived with his sister, that is Mary Herbert. That is also an important personality, Mary Herbert, or the Countess of Pembroke. For a while, he had to leave the court and he had to leave the place as such, because the queen was angry. And then again, so during this time, he wrote Arcadia for his sister. And then in 1585, he returned to Elizabeth's court itself. So kind of a fluctuating relationship with the queen. And he got a minor appointment in the Low Countries, that is the northwestern Europe, and he left England in 1586. He fought in the unimportant battle of Setfen. That was not at all an important battle, but he fought in this. He's a knight, right? Setfen battle, and he wounded in the thigh. He got a wound on the thigh, and he died within a month before the age of 32. And actually he couldn't complete his 32nd birthday even before that, because of this wound which was severe on his thigh. He died. Okay. As the funeral procession passed in London, Sydney's funeral procession, the crowds said to have cried out like what they said, farewell, the worthiest knight that lived. That is what the people said. After farewell, it is not full stop, it is a comma. Please do notice that. Farewell, the worthiest knight that lived. So the worthiest knight, that means he was the epitome of what a knight should be. He's an ideal representative of an idealized Elizabethan age. Okay, he represented all what are to be represented. Okay, what is the nature, what is the stature of Elizabethan age? That is what actually represented by Philip Sidney. And Spencer mourned the death in the pastoral elegy Astrophel. Actually, Astrophel and Stella is a poem written by Philip Sidney. And when Sidney died, Spencer mourned the death of Sydney in a pastoral elegy, that is Astrophel. Don't get confused with these two works. Who is the Astrophel and Stella is by Sydney, and Astrophel is by Spencer. Then now let us see Sydney's work. Okay, works. None of his works were published during his lifetime. Every work it got published. All those works got published posthumously. And he experimented with the classical meters in England, and remarked on his own works in a self-deprecating manner. He was not that confident that my works are good, or he was confused of the merit of his works, and he even asked for the Arcadia to be burned. It is not that worthy, it should be burned, he was telling like that. And um, um, he was kind of self-deprecating manner was there with him. And a folio of his work appeared in 1598. See, he died in 1586 itself, but a folio of his work appeared in 1598 only. So, first of all, Astrophel and Stella, that is one of the most important works by Philip Sidney. It was published in 1591. Remember this, Sidney's, during his lifetime, none of his works got published. And in 1591, Astrophel and Stella got published, first of the famous English sonnet sequence. I told you sonnet sequence. Sonnet sequence means a bundle of sonnets or a number of sonnets, but it will be telling the same story. After one sonnet, when you read the next sonnet, you will get the continuation. Then another sonnet, it goes that way. So there are 108 sonnets in this particular sequence. In Astrophel and Stella, it's a sonnet sequence, and there you can see 108 sonnets and 11 songs. Songs means it doesn't fit into the structure of a sonnet. Okay. So 108 sonnets and 11 songs. That is what the compilation of 108 sonnets and 11 songs is the output, that is Astrophel and Stella. It is addressed to Penelope de Vurix, that is the wife of Lord Rich. Okay, wife of Lord Rich. During that time, she was a prominent figure, like she was an aristocratic figure. So these sonnets and these songs, that is Astrophel and Stella, this particular work is addressed to Penelope de Vurix. And then the preface. This is also something very important. Who wrote the preface to Astrophel and Stella? That is Thomas Nash. Okay, Thomas Nash was also popular during that time, and he was the one who wrote the preface for Astrophel and Stella, and he introduces it as a tragic comedy of love. That is how he explained or he addressed this particular work. And Astrophel is the star lover. Now, who is Astrophel and who is Stella? Astrophel or Astrophil, both spellings are there, is the star lover. Okay, the one who loves the star. Actually, this is a story. The lover is there in the earth and the lover is loving a star. And Astrophel is the star lover and Stella is his star. And here Sydney nativized the Petrarchan model. Okay, Petrarchan model is of course based on the Italian style, and there can be so many differences when it comes to English. We have to make lots and lots of changes, and Sydney actually stick on to most of the Petrarchan conventions. There are so many conventional features for Petrarchan model. We have already discussed it when we were discussing sonnets, and Sydney actually nativized the Petrarchan model with this particular work, and he follows the generic conventions of Elizabethan love poetry also. Okay, so it's a combination. He nativized means he made some changes. He made it into an English format with the conventions of Elizabethan love poetry. So that is what the importance of Astrophel and Stella. The next important work that he wrote as Arcadia. Actually, Arcadia is like 1580. This is the year in which he wrote it. Okay, not published. This is the year in which he wrote this Astrophil and Stella. And why Arcadia's? Because we can't actually figure out when he wrote this particular works, because all works got published posthumously. But this particular work, we know when he exactly written, because this was the time when Queen Elizabeth asked him to go out of the court, and he was there with his sister, that is Mary Herbert, and it is for her that he wrote Arcadia. So we can guess the time period in which he wrote Arcadia. Okay, and this is the first in the Renaissance imitations of Lilly's Euphues. That is John Lilly. John Lilly's Euphues is a work, and this is actually a first Renaissance imitation of this Lilly's, because he has modeled Lilly's Euphues for writing this particular work, Arcadia. Arcadia is a prose romance, okay, and it is modeled on Lilly's Euphues, and it is written for his sister. I told you he was staying with her, that is the Countess of Pembroke, Mary Herbert. So the full title of Arcadia is the Countess of Pembroke's Arcadia. Okay, this is the full title. So sometimes you may be given with a question like, what is the full title of Arcadia by Sir Philip Sidney? So the answer is the Countess of Pembroke's Arcadia. Then the title and setting is taken from, again, a 16th century Italian poet, that is Jacopo Zanazzaro's Arcadia. This is actually the setting as well as the title is already there. The content is different, but the setting as well as the title is actually taken from a 16th century Italian poet. Okay, Italian poet, that is Jacopo Zanazzaro. And his work is also titled Arcadia. The title is taken from Jacopo, as well as the setting also. Okay, the content is different. And I told you this is a prose romance, but it is interposed with poems. Though it is a prose romance, you can see some poems also. And he combines pastoral, romance, and epic. The features of, you can see the pastoral elements, pastoral poem elements, the romance elements. We have just discussed what a romance is in the context of drama, and this romance is also there, and the epic style is also there. So he incorporated all these elements, all these structural styles in this particular work, Arcadia. And then we can see a revision of Arcadia. Okay. revision of Arcadia later happened. Later, Sydney himself undertook revision of this Arcadia, giving rise to old Arcadia to new Arcadia. The new version is known as New Arcadia. It's a radical division, but it is incomplete. Sydney couldn't complete this revision. Okay, it's incomplete and it is longer than the old Arcadia. Comparing the length, it is much lengthier than the older one. Then it includes a new subsidiary stories, including that of the blind Paphlagonian king. Actually, this blind Paphlagonian king story is familiar to you. That is the source for Gloucester subplot in King Lear. We were discussing King Lear in detail, and hope you remember the Gloucester subplot, who got blinded, who got deceived by his stepson, that is Edmund. And so this Gloucester subplot is actually for Shakespeare got inspiration from this particular story, that is the blind Paphlagonian king. And this particular story and the subsidiary stories are actually Sydney also got inspired from this particular story, and now those kinds of inclusions are also there in New Arcadia, which is not there in Old Arcadia. And then the theme of moral earnestness is deepened, especially in the case of some characters, this moral earnestness, how important it is. So all these things were included in the New Arcadia. Then this is a minor work of Sydney, that is Lady of May. This is a one-act pastoral play. It's a Christian masque composed in 1578 for Queen Elizabeth. Okay, that's a minor work, not as popular as his other works. And this is something very important when it comes to Philip Sidney, that is Apology for Poetry, which got published in 1595. I don't know whether we can complete Apology for Poetry today. So before telling something about apology for poetry, first of all, we have to see this Gossen's school of abuse. That is Stephen Gossen. Do you know the story, Stephen Gossen and the reply to Gossen? Anyway, I'll tell you. If we cannot finish this today, we'll continue with this in the next class. That is Gossen's School of Abuse. School of Abuse is a work by Stephen Gossen, which was published in 1579. And this particular work is dedicated to Philip Sidney. And in this particular work, he associated poets with pipers, jesters, caterpillars of the Commonwealth. That is, poets are useless. There is no point in writing poetry. Okay, poetry is something very stupid. This is what the major argument put forward by Stephen Gossen in the work School of Abuse. And he was saying like poems are associated with music. Poems are musical, right? So music is debilitating and undermines virtue. It is not good. Even Plato in his work Republic, he banned poets from the Commonwealth. So during the in the ancient time itself, poets got banished. So it is not at all worthy. And drama is also not worthy. It incites popular debauchery. Debauchery means immorality. It's full of sex, drugs, and all those things. And drama was denounced by this person. And tragedy is full of cruelty, bloodshed, murder, and comedy is full of vulgarity, degrading love, and all those things. So, what is the point of drama and poetry? This is what the major argument of Stephen Gossen in his work School of Abuse. And this work is dedicated to Sydney. Now Sydney has to reply. Okay, and that reply is Apology for Poetry. We will